Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, on this fan-based but band-endorsed, and that is a very important distinction, podcast. Very excited to bring you guys another episode today. We're talking about the song All God's Children. And the band Uriah Heep is supported by the Queen Elizabeth Grant-maintained Grammar School Choir in Alford, Lincolnshire, conducted by Andrew Willoughby. Now, every time I hear the word or the name Willoughby, it just brings one thing to mind, which was an episode of The Twilight Zone in the Rod Serling days of the show, where this man was on a train and he kept dreaming about this town called Willoughby, which was this, kind of a dream town of his, a dream destination, really more of an escape from the pressures of the life he was currently living. Very interesting episode and one worth watching. If you're a fan of the show, great irony. There's always a twist. That's what the whole show is about, just having some kind of unexpected twist. And that was a great episode, but that has nothing to do with this song whatsoever, does it? No, it doesn't. But the name Willoughby, that just always brings that, because the conductor would walk up and down in his dream state going, Willoughby, Willoughby. And anyway, that's just kind of ingrained into my brain. Thank you, Rod Serling. But this song is a different song entirely. Now, up to this point, there's been no real religious references that I can think of throughout all the albums that we've listened to so far. I don't think there's been really anything that stands out in my mind anyway. So this is kind of interesting. And, you can read so much into a song title. I could say that, wow, they're showing that they're a little more religious than we thought, or, they're showing that they're not, specifically by whatever the song's going to be about. Maybe it's an attack on religion. I mean, you can take so many things from a title like that and read into it and it have nothing to do with reality whatsoever. I did an album years ago called Unforgivable God, and I remember somebody was just really upset about that title. And, for me, the whole concept of the song and the title of the album was just about, a God that people worship that isn't forgiving, that just will kill them at will, for no reason. And it is not the kind of God that you can just go into a confessional and say, hey, you know what, I did it, I'm sorry, and here's my penance, and get away with it. It was just a non-forgiving God. But that just goes to show how easy it is to read into the title. People that were very religious took things very seriously. I got actually some really angry notes on that I was rather surprised. And, calm down. But so it's going to be interesting to see what this song is about. And I love the idea of having a children's choir. I think that's always a fun thing to do. They add such an interesting sound to things. There's a unity of children's voices that come together differently than the way adults do. So I'll be very curious to hear how this all sounds, how it all comes together. So let's just dive right in. Here's All God's Children by Uriah Heep. I really love these simple riffs, because like I've said so many times, when we hear these, they can really go anywhere from there. You really can't predict what the progression is going to be because you're not locking yourself into any particular style, anything at all, really. So it's, especially with a band like this, that's always full of surprises. It's going to be interesting to see where they go from this foundation that they're creating here. Love the sound of it. Still have kind of an 80s feel to the keyboards. Really like that, though. It's a nice blend. The guitars sound really good with the level of distortion, and so they blend very well together. The beat is really interesting. It predates it, but I have to say it kind of reminds me of Aerosmith's Ragdoll. So I wonder if perhaps Aerosmith wasn't inspired by this song. Ragdoll has just that. It's kind of a swingy feel to it. It's kind of a shuffle, really. but it's not. It's played a little bit differently. It's got more of a swing feel to it, and I really like that. So it's going to be, it's going to be interesting here. We'll see what happens next. I'm excited.
Baby, little whirlwind child, pretty babies drive you wild. Look like one, act like another. Every night a different lover.
Well, these are not the lyrics that I expected. This is a completely different story. But I will say, yeah, well, there you go. Talk about not reading too much into a song title. So here we are. Bernie sounds great, though, right off the bat. Got just that right amount of grit in his voice. Sounds so good with this beat, especially. I really like it. I think the backing vocals sound great here. I think there's nothing that is unbalanced or over the top. I think they blend very nicely with the song and the mix. And it's a nice sound, I think, for them to have.
It's a game where you can cheat. Love is falling at your feet. High on sensuality. A photograph for all to see. Stunned love is in the past. Make it young, make it fast. Make you never get enough. Strong as death and sweet as love.
Wow, Bernie just sounds fantastic through that. Nice tight drums. Love that snare sound, by the way. It's got a good bottom end to it. And let's talk about the bass. The bass is coming alive a little bit here, which is nice. During the verses, it's just playing straight, which is fine. You know, the song doesn't really need anything taking away from the vocals. But in that chorus there, it's actually coming alive a little bit. And we're hearing a little bit of the Trevor that I expect. And it sounds really good. So, very interesting song so far. I really like it, though. I like the feel of it. I like the beat. I like the mix. And lyrics sound great. Everything's good. Now, that's a really nice mix of backing vocals and lead vocals doing some fill-ins there. The balance is really good. Maybe just a little more lead vocal, but honestly, it's fine where it is. And, the bass drums keeping the rhythm going. Everything just sounds really good. I'm really liking this. Great rock and roll solo, really fit the song well. Nice, powerful drums. Love the way they came together at the end. I thought that was great. But mixed sound on this is just fantastic. I really like that. Works really well with the song, with the snare drum. And I'm not hearing as much bass drum as I would like in the mix, but it's not too bad. I think, hearing the keyboards in the background is a really nice blend too. This is a good mix. Yeah, you see what I mean? There's just something about a children's choir that has just this an angelic sound to it, really. And they always, no matter how many different voices, male, female, it doesn't matter. They always seem to find a way to blend together really beautifully. And I think this is a great moment captured on recording here. Those are some interesting offbeat accents from Lee. I wonder if that messed the children up at all. I wonder if they had to do, an extra take because that beat threw them off a bit. Of course, they might have recorded just to a metronome too. Who knows? But most likely they heard at least some part of the song while they were singing it to stay on key. But the real genius too is what Mick is doing in the background here. Just the stuff that he's playing. If you can focus in on it, sounds fantastic. It's a great addition to the song. The keyboards are really keeping the song nice and thick. Nothing dramatic here, nothing too crazy, just a really well-performed song. Very straightforward, in a lot of ways simple, but it just sounds very well-crafted and elegant. The sections with just the organ and the kids is fantastic. I love the sound that we're hearing from the keyboards. I think it might be two different sounds blended together, but it just sounds fantastic. I love it. It blends beautifully with the kids. Hearing them being a little bit playful and, joking around and stuff at the end is really a nice touch. I like that the band came back in after that first dropout where it was just the organ and the kids. But it came back kind of strange. It was doubling the amount that we're hearing that weird drum accent. And I think it was a bit too much. It was kind of throwing me off of the song a little bit, taking me away from the beauty that we were hearing before that. Not sure exactly why that was done, but stylistically for me, it didn't work as well. But the rest of the song was fantastic. I liked that the band just kind of came in and then faded out again. That was neat and unexpected. I thought it was just going to kind of go on in a jam for a while from there. But very nice song. I really like the addition of the choir. It's one of those things that you can do once, maybe twice in a band's history, and then it kind of gets a little bit, cheesy, comical, commercial. I don't know what the right word is, but overdone, I think would be the word. But I think it sounds great on this song. I think it was a great addition. I really find it interesting, just the difference of having this children's choir and singing about, got to have some sex. It's an interesting contrast between the two, thinking about it. Even just hearing children's voices in conjunction with that kind of a storyline is really an experimental, I would say. But I think in this case, from a musical standpoint, I think it worked great. It was a great song, really strong beat to it, some nice movement on the bass guitar. We've got some really nice solid keyboards, just making the song sound so rich. And then some killer playing from Mick, as always. Great vocal delivery from Bernie. Just another great song. I couldn't see this being necessarily like a single or anything unless it was reworked a little bit. But I think it definitely had some commercial ability to it, potentially. But as it is, no, I think it's a great album track, though. Definitely glad it's included. And well, that will do it for this episode, guys. Another song tackled. In this band just continues to amaze me with their creativity, their ideas, their lack of fear in experimenting. You know, a lot of bands will not jump out of their shell and try different things. You just get consistent delivery from them, perhaps, but after a while, it gets kind of stale. And I like when bands are willing to take chances and do different things. And Uriah Heep is certainly one of the best at saying, you know what, let's just try it and see what happens, because it shows in their music. It shows that they're not the kind of band that just says, all right, all the songs are going to be like this. They're going to start with guitar. They're going to have a little intro, and then we're going to head into the first verse, and then we'll do a break, and then another verse, and then a chorus. I mean, there's no formula to it. They just write what the song is. And I really like that. I like the fact that I can put on any song and have it be something different from the last song. You know, the albums have a certain character to them because of the way that they were recorded, but and you know, who was in the band at the time and all of that. But in general, you know, every song kind of has its own personality on the albums. And I really like that. There's nothing that I've seen so far in all these reviews that I've done where I feel the band is gotten stale, has kind of dialed it in. I mean, there were some times during some of the, you know, transitionary eras where you could tell that the writing wasn't their normal standard of writing. But even within that, every one of those songs still had some merit to it. And I like that. There's so many albums that I've listened to over the years where I like a couple songs by a band, or, you know, maybe I've heard a handful and I'll get one of their albums and I'm like, these really are just filler tracks, you know, and it's rare that I've ever felt that with this band. There's been a couple songs that I didn't really care for that much, but for the most part, you know, I found something in every song that has really been worth paying attention to. And I think that says a lot, because we've gone through a lot of songs now, and this band just continues to amaze me. I cannot wait to see what they've got in store for us on the next album. But for now, while we wait, we will keep doing episodes, and well, we're going to do them when they come out with the new album anyway. But have a great day, guys. We will see you on the next episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!